First of all, I want to thank my colleagues for the contributions on the budget, and I would always listen to constructive sessions. But I would also say to them, respond very, very strongly that there are certain major aspects of this budget that highlight that it's a caring budget. It's also progressive, and also, according to a number of independent economists, this is the most progressive budget in recent years. So in relation to my own portfolio, Alaska and Corla, I had the great honour of being appointed Minister for Disabilities 2.5 years ago, and one of my objectives as Minister was to increase the investment in disability services, which had seen such underinvestment during and after the financial crash. This objective has been achieved with considerable increases in the disability services budget, and I am delighted to have secured an additional $150 million for 2019, bringing our disability budget to $1.838 billion. That is a historic record in spending on disabilities. This will allow us to tackle the pressing issues like assessment of need, like emergency residential places, like respite, personal assistance and home support hours, amongst other things. And these are my priorities. Another of my objectives was to put the person with the disability at the forefront of our thinking. That is why this year the disability community and I pushed so hard to get the ratification of the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with a Disability through. But I want ratification to mean something to the daily lives of people with the disability, and the extra funding I've secured will support this objective. Of course, we are playing catch-up following the downturn, but I am very confident, Alaska and Corla, that we have been and continue to be on the right track in improving the lives of people with a disability. And can I say as well that it's important to highlight our record in government in relation to these issues, and the points were made about not being a caring budget. Can I just point out some of the things we've done over the last 7 or 8 months? The carers grant was restored, that's $1,700 per family, to 101,000 families. The medical card extension for children in receipt of the domiciliary care allowance, an extra 11,000 children, that costing $10 million. $10 million extra was put into for respite care homes in 2018. We also had $3 million for the setting up of the Decision Support Service in order to ratify the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. We've seen €5 increases over 3 years on the disability allowance and carers allowance. But above all, the historic thing was, for many years, despite many parties talking about it, we ratified last April the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. It's also important, and the points raised by some of my colleagues are very important, when you have this amount of money going into the services, you have to ensure that it's spent on the people and the families with disabilities. And that is a genuine concern. And I listened to Deputy Martin earlier on talking about families in rural Ireland. And that is a very valid point, and that is something that we discussed this morning actually in my office. I had a group of parents up from the Carlow-Kilkenny region, and that is the exact same point that they were making. And that is something that we have to look at. The services have to be designed around the person with the disability, whether they live in rural Ireland or urban Ireland. And because some people live in urban areas, have better quality service than others, that's not acceptable for me as Minister. And that's something that I intend to tackle head on. But also in relation to what's going on in our services. Reform is going on, investment is going on. And we also have to have accountability. So at the moment, as I speak, we have 8,399 residential places being funded. We have 182,506 respite nights being funded. In relation to the personal assistance hours, we have 1.46 million personal assistance hours being implemented for 2,357 people. In relation to day services, the service plan at the moment, as I speak, is 24,856 day places, 42,552 day respite sessions, and 2.93 million home support hours for 7,447. So work is going on as I speak. Of course, then we have the emergency cases. We have new residential emergency places of 130, number of new home support for emergency cases 135, and number of in-home support services for emergency cases 120. In relation to new directions and school leavers, we have approximately 1,500 every year coming out at 18 with physical and intellectual disabilities. And we are supporting and provide day service support for approximately these 1,500 people who are leaving, going into day services or rehab training. Another important issue which we want to move and trying to move quickly is the issue of moving from congregated settings. We have 170 people, as I speak, moving from large residential institutions into community living. The service fund of £45 million is there over 3 years, supporting this transition and also supporting innovation. The commitment to stakeholder consultation and engagement, and that's a key thing as well. We also have the neuro rehab strategy, progress the demonstration of the project in CHO Area 6 and 7 on a manage and clinic pathway. Also, a very important thing is to look at the whole issue of a comprehensive value improvement programme. So these are just some of the things, Lascan Corla, that are going on in relation to disability services. I am delighted to have been listening to the parents over the last number of months on priorities in the funding. And I am delighted to have secured funding for additional therapy posts for assessment of need and therapeutic interventions. We know how important early intervention is in supporting children to reach their potential. The Government is fully committed to the full implementation of progressing disability services for children and young people with disabilities. Increased investment in this area will provide the 100 additional special therapy posts, which allow the HSE to put more resources in clearing the backlog and assessment of need. It will also free up resources to deliver therapies to children who are on lengthy waiting lists. So the work has started, the investment has started, the reform has started, so we are implementing a caring budget. Thank you, Alaskan Corda.